I noticed there's kind of a lack of just quick tutorials on YouTube to show you how to test a system that you've bought. Say you buy it on eBay. Like, what are the things you should look for? What are some common failure points? Because odds are a lot of people are just going to say, it worked great when I used it. Bush was in office, but it worked great then. I'm just going to use a PlayStation 3 because functionally a PlayStation 3 has all the things you test on a new and old system. The most important thing is stop and think, what does this console do? Obviously, it plays media. Mm-hmm. So you're going to want to say, okay, so this is a PS3 Slim. Plays PS1 and PS3 games. So you're going to want to put one of each in. Just play it for a minute, see if it's getting any issues. Try installing something because it's got a hard drive. But the more common failure points are, do the USB ports work? And does the HDMI port work? And most people don't know the test for an HDMI port. You wouldn't test it, standing up like this, but you would hook one cable into your TV, and you'd hook another one in, and then you plug it in, and then you just wiggle around like this, and you see if image drops. And if it does, there's two things that could be. It could be the HDMI port itself is starting to go bad. It's like starting to get some cracks in the solder. Perhaps it's starting to peel a trace, something like that. Because people tend to leave these on and then wrap the cable around the console. Kids will do that a lot, and that's a lot of tension on that connector. The other thing it could be is just that it was in a dusty environment. So I'd recommend you get WD-40 contact cleaner. You'll spray it in there, and then you just plug in, pull out, plug in, pull out. Do that like 5 or 6 times. Use a little bit of duster, dry it off, plug it back in, turn it back on, do the test again. Most of the time that ends up fixing it. If that doesn't, start looking into your refund or whatever warranty that you have. AV, if you want to use AV, pretty much no one ever used them on the PS3, so it's probably fine. But testing AV ports, it's the same thing. You plug it in, wiggle around.
Richie used AV on a standard definition television on his PS3 for like the first 2-3 years that he had it.
If you're testing something that uses RF, if you're getting a lot of snow, try a thicker cable or contact cleaner, plug it onto the RCA, rotate it a little bit, then try again. Might have just been a dirty connector. But one thing you should also do is to see if your system was kept in a good environment. This is really weird, but for one, look at it. Does it look clean? If it's looking clean, that's pretty good, but the person may have cleaned it up. Go to Event and... Okay, so I'm not getting a smell off this one, but if you get a fish oil smell, that could be capacitors. When you gave me that laser active module, I opened it and I smelled the board, fish oil immediately. Looked around at the caps, leaky caps.
Yeah.
But that's one of the most common leaky cap things. But you'll often get like a garage smell or a basement smell or sometimes an attic smell from it. And those are all either high humidity or low temperature regulation situations. So you might want to investigate recapping something. PS3 is so complicated, I wouldn't honestly recommend recapping it. You can get these for like $60. It's not worth pulling one of these apart and spending hours on it. Super Nintendo, I don't know, what is that, 5-6 caps? You can do it. Just look up some tutorials. Actually see if Voltar has one. He's really good at explaining how to do it. So when you're doing your Wi-Fi test, make sure that you can update it and that it actually connects to Xbox or PSN or Nintendo, that it isn't banned. Because every now and then we'll get a 360, and as soon as I see the name come up, I'll be like, yeah, that got banned. I know that, because it might just have some word where you're like,
well, can't you just do a factory reset?
Some of them are serial banned.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Some of them, it's a hardware ban. They're like, oh, no one can connect from this one.
Wow. Okay.
Because they were just trying to, people would just keep making free accounts.
Yeah.
And just being just jerks.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, yeah, that Xbox can't connect anymore. That's very uncommon. I've seen it, 3 times in 5 years. It's very, very uncommon. So we want to test games on it. But let's say you bought a game. So I had Tony bring me two media formats that are kind of a pain in the butt when you buy them. So Blu-rays are a big one where Blu-rays can often actually get something called a pinhole on it. Now, that's either dust causing an issue in the reflective layer and it being damaged. That'll just eventually happen to all discs over time, but if you just left it in like a hot environment, it might make it go a little faster. If it was too hot, it might get warped. Just see that it's flat. Okay, no scratches. That's good. Scratches on Blu-rays are very hard to get out. Scratches on CDs and DVDs, very easy to get out. Your local game store will probably just let you use their buffer for a price. It's usually anywhere from like $2 to $5. So for looking for pinholes on Blu-ray discs, you'll hold it up to a light. I've got this nice studio light right here. And bam, there's one. Now, because of the way they print the labels on this, it might actually be a bubble, like a defect in the printing process for the top side. So turn on the flashlight on your phone and then just figure out where it is, hit it like straight on with the light, and then wobble around it like this. And if it doesn't keep showing light through it, you're probably good. And if you actually take a real close look at it, you can be like, oh yeah, that's just a little like kind of defect on the printing process. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you'll stop and look, and it's actually a gouge on the top. Mm-hmm. You'll also notice sometimes fingerprints on these. And fingerprints can actually stop a disc from reading, but they're really easy to get rid of. Microfiber cloth, bit of lens cleaner, you're good to go. I've had people come in and be like, yeah, this game I bought from you doesn't work at all. And I'll look at it, and it looks like they just opened a Jimmy John's sandwich and just started rubbing the disc on the inside and then put it in their system. And it's like, I look at it and I'm like, well, yeah, of course it didn't. And I'm like, yeah, why did you sell it to me like this? And I'm like, these are your fingerprints. One of the banes of my existence for a while was PS1 games. Oh. So every now and then we'd have somebody bring in PS1 games that were dead. But what you'll do is you'll take your flashlight again and you'll inspect the top reflective layer or the printed side to see if there's any damage on there. I don't see any right now, but a lot of the times it would be microscopic. But what we can do is then from the underside, kind of doing little circles with your flashlight, looking around, and if a really bright little spot shows up in there, you've got yourself a pinhole. And I'm happy to report, Tony, your Grand Stream Saga is fine. You can, if you're really, really, really interested in it, you can go onto Redump's website. They have a tool, and if you have certain disk drives, you can put your disk in. It will do basically a dump and check the checksum, which is a value for authenticating that you had a good dump. And Redump will have a list of good dumps for games. So especially if you're buying like Kuon or Rule of Rose or KO Flying Squadron.
The big guns.
Snatcher, stuff like that. You can plug that in and it will just tell you that's a good dump.
Yeah.
There's a tool to do that with GameCube that you can actually just do through Swiss or PicoBoot or all those different things. Mm-hmm. It has just like, there is a built-in dumper that you can use on those through your GameCube. Takes quite a bit longer, but you don't need a special drive for it. But after it does, it finishes, it'll go, redump checked good. Mm-hmm. So like when I sold my Chibi Robo, I actually did scan that. Mm-hmm. And it was like, yeah, that's a good scan. For cartridges, it's a lot harder to like look on the inside. I would recommend getting a toolkit that allows you to open it. But a lot of the times, you'll put in a cartridge and it doesn't work. Get a Q-tip, a little bit of alcohol, clean the contacts. That's pretty simple. If it's still not working, what I would then recommend is open the cartridge, take the board out, use one of those big pink erasers, and just go back and forth on the pins, both sides, till it's looking nice. Then clean that off with rubbing alcohol again till it's looking real nice. Pink erasers are like that perfect hardness scale where most corrosion and dirt and stuff like that are softer than the rubber, but the rubber is softer than the contact. Mm-hmm. So it'll scrape off all the bad stuff without damaging anything. Honestly, the pins will look amazing after you do that. Then put it back together, plug it into your system. Say this is a Nintendo 64, it's still not working. This is the trick that I actually learned at Retro Taku. Put more alcohol on there, like a couple more swabs on the cartridge. Plug it in 5 or 6 times. Clean the cartridge again. You'll notice some is starting to come off there. Just repeat that step a couple of times. You'll be fine.
Okay.
My Nintendo 64 was getting to that point where I was like, okay, let me just... Hey, now it starts. Mm-hmm. So I went home, did that. It works... It runs like a top now. So, like the NES, everybody says, boil your contacts, like that 72-pin connector, or just put a new one in. No. Putting a new one in is actually pretty painless. Just watch like a quick teardown for it.
Yeah.
So what I've actually found works really, really well for me is I have, it's like a cheap, like $50, $60 ultrasonic cleaner I just bought from Harbor Freight. Fill it with water, put just a couple drops of Dawn dish soap in there. And then run the heater on it until it's about bath water warm. Then put your 72-pin connector in there and set it to, I think it has like a 4 or 5 minute setting. Turn that on, put the lid on, walk away. Come back when it's done, pull it out, kind of tap it against like a cloth to try and get all the water out of there. Then run alcohol through it, because alcohol will touch everything, and through osmosis, it'll pull all the water, because it wants to be a nice even mixture, out of spots it was hiding in. Then dry again, maybe use a little bit of keyboard cleaner, and then you've got a nice dry pin. And every single time I've done that, it's worked like it's brand new.
Wow. Okay.
Because it cleans everything out of there. There was one that was really bad, and after about a minute of it being in there, you know when like the column of smoke starts launching out of the apartment in Ghostbusters, and it looks sort of unnatural? That's what it looked like. Because things don't move normally in a like inside of ultrasonic cleaners, because like the pressure is so weird. Like instead of things just falling over, they'll sometimes fall upward and like all kinds of weird stuff like that. But if you are going to use an ultrasonic cleaner, while it's on, do not put your hand in the water. You'll just put your hand in the water for a second and be like, oh, that feels weird. And then the next day, it might feel like you slammed it in a car door. It's very uncomfortable. It's not permanent damage or anything like that. If you left it in there, it probably would be. Yeah. But it is one of those things where you're like, oh, that felt weird. And the next thing you're like, God, what did I do to this? Yeah. Do I have arthritis or something now? But so be careful if you're using a tool like that. I would also say, like, feel free to leave any of your own tips in the comments. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them in there. And I'm not just saying that because it helps the algorithm. I do actually
he will
like
genuinely answer your questions.
Yeah.
So, and we all also, just love talking to you guys. So it's always a treat for us to get the comments and then sort of dig around and answer stuff and, shadow ban other people. So, just kidding.
Yeah, so just remember, give those ports a wiggle. Make sure it reads something. Let me know if it's making any weird noises or anything like that.
Exactly. Let him know if it's calling you daddy when you boot it up.
And if you plug your PS4 in and you go, why does it sound like a jet engine? Well, that's because it's a PS4.
That's right. I can't do anything with that. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching the video. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff. And of course, hope to see you all back for the next one.
And feel free to timestamp when I said a short video and respond, well, that was a lie.